Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Today's Youth. In today's episode, we will be meeting with a young Egyptian student studying at Debrecen University in Hungary. Mustafa received a scholarship at Debrecen University to study mechatronics. He will be sharing his experience with us after the short break. Well, thank you for joining us here on Nile TV International, Mustafa.
Thank you so much for hosting me.
Mustafa, you received a fully funded scholarship from Debrecen University in Hungary, and you're studying mechatronics. Tell me more about this scholarship. How did you manage to get it? How did you apply for it? Was the competition fierce?
Uh, yes, after my graduation from my high school, I had a relatively good grades in high school, and but I still had needed a lot of skills in order to get a scholarship. So after my high school, I took one gap year, and during this gap year, I was trying to develop my skills as much as I can in order to get a scholarship from some big universities, or I can say countries, that I'm admiring the universities for a reason or another. Like for some universities that they have a very good research laboratories, or they have a very brilliant teachers that I want to work with. So after this 1 year, I applied for a lot of scholarships, more than I can remember actually. And
Mm-hmm.
by the end of that, I got offered 3 to 3 full funded scholarships and other 6 partial scholarships from different countries in Europe and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose Hungary because it was the field that I'm interested in the most, and also because of the condition of the scholarship. It was better for me, like it covered all of my tuition fees, covered all of my living fees, and things like that. It was very important for me at this point. When
Mm-hmm.
it comes to the scholarship itself, it has 2 parts. One part of it has to be recommended by the Egyptian government. So at the beginning, I have to apply to the Egyptian government, the higher education Ministry of Higher Education, and
Mm-hmm.
it is a bit competitive. Like they take around 20 students every year, and more than it can be reached 1,000 students who are applying for it. So it can be really competitive at the beginning. And after this is like the first selection. After the first selection, you have to go to the second selection, which is you have to be get scholarship from the European Union, because the scholarship is not really from the Britain University, they're from European Union, and they fund you to study in one of their universities, which is Debrecen in my case.
Mm-hmm.
This was the
Right.
second selection,
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
and then after that, if you have been selected by Egypt and you have selected by European Union, you have to be selected by the university. So it's like a 3 phase process, and by every phase, a lot of people just
Mm-hmm.
then don't make it, unfortunately for them. And by the end of the day, I am one of the international students that have been accepted to this program, and one of the few Egyptians that have been nominated to this department. And so far, it's going so well. Like I got this scholarship. Me and one of my other friends, we are both Egyptian. We all got a scholarship, and so far we are in the top of our class. Like we have international class consists of around 50 students from all over the world, like
Mm-hmm.
from Japan, Germany, Nigeria, and other countries as well, Jordanians and Tunisians, and we are like in the top of our class. It's the Egyptian one. So
Yeah.
so far it's going good for me.
Right.
briefly.
Well, how did you find the experience of traveling abroad and studying abroad, adapting to a totally new culture? Was that easy?
It was a bit challenging in the beginning because
Mm-hmm.
when you realize, like, you have this first few days you came in, you're just fascinated about everything. Everything is different. Everything is new for you, especially in a country like Hungary, because I learn here in English, of course, but I don't speak fluent Hungarian. I only speak basic Hungarian. So you have this
Mm-hmm.
gap communication between you between and the local people. So
Mm-hmm.
not everything can be so obvious for you, and you cannot understand everything they are saying. So that makes communication gap. And
Mm-hmm.
after this like fascinating period, you get to realize how much different these people are, and how much things are going to be different for you. Like for example, you used to have a holiday on Friday, and now you have your holiday on Sunday, and your mind doesn't feel like working on Friday because all of my life I've been taking Friday as a holiday, and now I have to take it on Sunday.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
one
of course.
example. It's maybe small, but it has a huge effect on you. The way that you talk with people, you treat with people, it's it's again it was so hard to adapt to that.
Mm-hmm.
And also not only the culture itself, it's like the country, the weather, the rules, the regulations, everything is different uh,
Mm-hmm.
to some point.
Yeah.
But after a while, you get to adapt to it. You get more experience. You get to know more local people. You make friends. You meet your teachers and you work with them. I've been here for 3 years so far, so I'm quite get into this process so good, and I'm helping the
Mm-hmm.
newcomers who comes here to adapt as well.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, what were the obstacles or the challenges that you faced so far during your study in Hungary?
Well, I can say mainly it was a part of the amount of material that you have to study in the European university is huge because the engineering course in European countries is 3 years of education and half year of project, and that's totally different than in Egypt. In Egypt, it's 5 years, so you have
Mm-hmm.
2 extra years you have to study. So, like, I spent 2 years studying engineering in Egypt, and all these 2 years I just took the same material in only one semester here. So the
Okay.
first obstacle it was
So
that you
it's
have a huge
it's
amount of
it's
material.
concentrated. The material is
Yes,
more concentrated over there, right?
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and because in Egypt you have more time to discuss these kind of things, here it's not like that. Here it's quite concentrated, and you don't have enough time. Apart from being an abroad student itself, like you have to take care of all your life stuff, your housing, your food, your everything. So your day is full of things. You go to university, and then have to do your own works and your projects. You have a lot of projects to do. You have a lot of tasks to have to finish, and it's quite a
Mm-hmm.
competitive thing that not everyone who enters the university will manage to graduate it out of it.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
also the exam system is quite different for me, so it was challenging in the beginning that to get to used to it.
mhm. The educational system is different.
Yes, it's totally different. Maybe the language barrier as well.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who used to spend most of his life studying in Arabic,
Mm-hmm.
and even when you use English, we use only the terms, not the explanation. So now you are studying totally in English. You're communicating everything in English. You do your stuff in English, and sometimes they integrate some of their own language in the materials, so it also makes it a bit harder by the time.
Mm-hmm. How far did each difficulty you passed through strengthen you further?
I can say that strengthens me a lot because, like in the first semester, I didn't have that mm, good grade. I would say that my grade was the average thing because it was so hard to keep up with everything. It was so hard to keep up with this amount of education that you have to do, an amount of material that you have to work, and at the same time you are required to develop your own skills because teacher will not teach you everything if he teach you anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
So after the first semester, okay, I got to learn how to work 3 or 4 days in straight without leaving. It's now as a skill, the best thing in you. and you can do it
Mm-hmm.
better in the future. You have better understanding of organizing your time. You know what field you want to get into. You know what things are the really important for yourself. And of course, because of my goal that I want to go back in Egypt to do something specific, so I was focusing on the thing that I think it's applicable a lot more in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Some things are not really applicable in Egypt. Some others we needed in Egypt. We need to develop this kind of project. So I was focusing on these things mainly. That's helped to strengthen my mind and sharpen my skills during this process of learning mechatronics engineering.
Right. Would you tell me more about persistence and perseverance? How far did you learn persistence throughout the challenges you faced and you passed through being in a different culture, a different country, a different society? What would you tell youth about persistence and perseverance?
I think this is the main factor that will ensure your success. I know you may not be like, I'm speaking about myself now, my case. I know I'm not the most talented person. I'm not really gifted in many things. However, I know that I will do my best to achieve what I want. I may even, like, I can quote from Will Smith, he's saying, I will die trying in the treadmill if not
Mm-hmm.
achieving this. So starting from the first points when I started to apply for the university, I applied for more than 50 universities. I got rejected by some of them. I got the partial fund from both of them. If I wouldn't just give up at the first rejecting mail or the second rejecting mail, it would have been a disaster for me. So you have to keep
Yeah.
going. If I just gave up after my first exam here or my first lecture, when you realize that everything is different and you learn some new things and the teacher will not explain everything to you, you have to have tons of book you have to read. It wouldn't get me here. And as I said, I know that I'm not the most talented, but I can be the hard worker person in the room. I can be the person that he will do his best, he will do his efforts to get what he wants. Because even if you are talented, that you're not doing enough work, you're not not persistent enough, you will not get any far from where you are standing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I can give the same advice for everyone as my dad told me before. If you want something, you have to work for it. It's easy, it's like the
Yes,
basic rule, and no
sure.
work gets lost.
Mm. Mustafa, you're the founder of Fanar Foundation, and you're working on the main two SDGs, education and peace building, right? Tell me more about this foundation and how important and beneficial it is.
I started in 2016 with some of my friends because it was my first
Mhm.
interaction with international students or with
Right.
international people, if I can say. I attended a conference in Egypt. It was one of the biggest conferences in Egypt. It was organized by the Ministry of Youth and Education and the cooperation with Isaac. And we have people from around 50 countries in one place.
Mhm.
And then you realize that there is a lot of things we don't know about these people, and there is a lot of things they don't know about us. We have a blurred image about how life around the world is going on, and we have this lack of education or lack of access to this kind of education they have. So Fanar was mainly about giving an alternative education to people. This was the educational part. And when they have enough education and you want to experience other people's culture education, we have kind of an exchange program. So we
Mhm.
host some students from other countries into Egypt. We teach them about
Yeah.
our culture, our system, about how things is working. And we send some of our students to their countries to learn about that as well. Usually
Mhm.
a minimum of 1 week and a maximum of 2 month program and project.
Mhm.
And the result of that is huge because you get to know that there is a very successful business, for example, in Spain, and
Mhm.
you want to apply a similar idea here. Or someone from Spain, he came here and he saw a very good opportunity in order to build some kind of I don't know, internship projects or something like that. These kind of things has happened a lot. We had actually some students who came to Egypt to study in Egypt. Like we had the German student who came to study in Ain Shams University, and he enjoyed it so much. So this is what we are trying to do, and also we're trying to give some kind of intercultural communication skills that helps you to contribute to this international community that we are living nowadays. Because we're not closed anymore. We're not only Egypt anymore. We're Middle East in the many talk, and we're in the maximum. We're in the whole world. The whole world is open to you. It's full of opportunities. You can just take whatever you want if you work hard for it. So it had a huge impact on the people that we were working with life, and it's also on my life myself. It's not my first experience to be a co-founder of something that you have financial responsibilities, organizing and logistic responsibilities. You have some people life around you that you have to take care of them. So these kind of logistic things, it helped me a lot to develop a lot of skills during this process.
Mhm. You're also currently selected as an ambassador for Debrecen University. Tell me more about this representation and how important is this experience to you? What did it add to you?
The process of that is the University of Debrecen realized that it's important for them to attract more pipelines around the world because when someone coming from his country, he's leaving everything to get better education. He's leaving his family, his culture, his language, and everything just to get a better education. He's gonna do his best to do it. So when we realized that, we thought we will need some people who can represent the culture because a lot of people are afraid. Like, for example, in Egypt, we are conservative community to a point. We are kind of more of a classic community. So a lot of people are concerned, will I be able to adjust to the new community? Will I be able to find a place to live? Will I be able to communicate with them? And they have this fear of this kind of international community.
Mhm.
So University of Everton, they choose a few students from different countries and different backgrounds who have a good communication skills and they can contribute to the people they want to send as a message. So basically, I transfer my experience during this 3 years I spent here to people who are interested into coming to Debrecen and coming to Hungary to learn more and to study in our university, mainly our university.
People going from
Maybe the
Egypt
biggest,
to Hungary, right?
yes,
Mhm.
and sometimes other countries depends. Like mainly I get most of my connections from Egypt and MENA region and like Middle East and North Africa parts.
Mhm.
I get some inquiries from Jordan, Palestine, Tunisia, Lebanon, and some African countries like Libya and Nigeria, and
Mhm.
etc. etc. And they're
Right.
asking me about what I think of education. They're asking me about a specific field. They're asking me about a specific project they want to work on, and they first have the
Mhm.
facilities to provide them with that. And this is my task, and that helps me to, this kind of thing increase your um, communication skills. You are speaking with people from different culture, different ages, even some companies. You want to have kind of a cooperation with Debrecen University, so it goes through you as a channel. It's
Mhm.
increasing your public relationship skills so much, and the fact that the university is honored you to represent her, it's also a big thing as well. You give you the authority to speak instead of a university. It's kind of a responsibility and an honor at the same time.
Mhm.
So that's had a huge effect on me.
Well, Mustafa, you're focused on your studies, mainly your academic studies. You're studying, of course, robotics and mechatronics. Tell me how you see the future in this field. I understand that you're planning to come back to Egypt after you finish your studies in Debrecen University in Hungary. So, how do you see the future in this career?
I see the future in this career is gonna be whole the future. Like if you think about it in the somehow, like in the recent time, we have this pandemic situation when a lot of people cannot actually do any kind of interaction with each other, and the necessity of having a virtual uh, platforms to do this kind of job, it became more and more and more.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking now, for example, one of the things that I'm thinking about is in Egypt we have a huge agriculture sources, but these sources unfortunately are not really used because of the level of automation in most of the Egyptian factories is not high enough.
Mhm.
Like for a small example, we had a study case lately about it may sound a bit weird, but I had a study case about the potatoes in Egypt. In the last season, we have a lot of potatoes in Egypt, but most of it was unused for some kind of reason because of the pandemic reasons and stuff like that. So if you can make an information process and a mechatronics process that can make whole the process from just the potato into chips in a small factory level, that doesn't have to be a huge factory, it can have a benefit for a lot of people, for the farmers, for the contributions, for the retail, the stores. This is the implementation of what I'm doing. This is a very like practical thing, but it can go so far to implementing of body parts. Like I was working on a project with some of my friends, it's building an alternative bionics human body for anyone who has disabilities in something. That's one of the fields. You can increase human bodied abilities itself. So you can make a normal human carry up to 1 ton of weight if you have an exoskeleton attached to him, assisting him. So this kind of sci-fi thing that we thought it's very far from us at some point, now it's very
Mm.
close. It's actually happening right now.
Yeah,
And Egypt is full of brilliant, amazing people who can develop that. And the government
definitely.
now, I can see it's pushing this more and more. Like I got to know lately, and this space institution in Egypt, they offered an AI courses for free for a lot of students. So contributing this into the society, it will have a huge effect. You can see how it will affect us in the next 5 years. All of this automating process that's happening in Egypt, it will make everything different.
Mm. Right. Mustafa told me also about the Fab Lab community-based organization that you're planning
Huh?
to establish when you come back here in Egypt. Tell me more about the Fab Lab and its significance to the community, how beneficial it is, or how beneficial it would be to the community.
Basically, the Fab Lab is a community-based space, and the main point of it is to make technical educational or technical resources are basic and easy and available for everyone. Let's say someone just wants to build a small project, like for now, in my room, I can control my lights with my hands. If I snip 2 times, the light can turn on or can turn off. This kind of project is not so complicated, and you don't have to spend like 4 years studying electronics engineering to build such a thing. So I can offer you the place, I can offer you the education for it. So the main thing is we are trying to teach the community coding and technology and tech and tell them how everything can be much, much easier if you can build a small code for it. Our
Mhm,
main focus is going to be in the students from the age of 14 to 20
mhm,
because teaching the making theory, like how to make things, how to build things, how to build systems, IoT systems, smart home systems, automation systems, manufacturing systems, all these kind of things don't have to be a very well educated engineer who knows everything behind everything to build it. No, you just need to know how to build it and how to use it. And that is the main goal of Fab Lab is to make it available for everyone, small price and free time. That's the
mhm.
thing.
Moving on to youth conferences, you attended several youth conferences in Egypt and outside Egypt. How do you see the significance of youth conferences to the youth in exchanging experience, in creating a bond among the youth, exchanging the different culture? I mean, knowing more about different cultures. How do you see this, and how do you see the importance of youth gatherings?
I see the importance of youth gathering as, especially the kind of youth gathering that I used to attend, it's related to, we call them the leaders youth, who are the people who have a huge influence in the community. And when you gather these kind of people in a place and they already know each other, they exchange ideas, they exchange opinions about things, and these people will have a good position in their communities and in their government in the future. So you have this kind of cooperation between people that will increase peace, development among nations, that will increase trading efficiency. And also, on another hand, attended some scientific conferences, which you can see how other people think or addressing things that facing an issue for all the planet and how we can work together to develop it. Like
Mhm.
I have been to Indonesia in one of the conferences, and the main focus of this conference was about the ocean pollution. And I was
Yes.
working in a team of 7 people from Japan, in India, Pakistan, and other countries. And you can see how these people think about things, how they want to address their own issues, and how we can face them as well from the Egyptian perspective or the Egyptian point of view. Because by the
Mhm.
end of the day, it's a problem that faces all of us. Um, this kind of problem, like oceans, global warming, uh, unemployment, or education level or education accessibility, all this problem is a huge problem that faces all the world, and everyone's trying to address it in their way. But if we can gather these ways together, we can have a better point of view, we can have a better vision of things.
Mhm.
So it's sharing opinions, sharing ideas, making it working, and trying to make the best of the planet and for the communities that we are coming from.
Mhm. You represented Egypt in a youth conference in Indonesia and also in another conference in Denmark. How were those
Mhm.
two experiences?
And then it was a scientific Asian science camp for grad and undergrad school, and it was mainly, as I mentioned, just about the pollution. So it was a kind of hackathon, I can say, more
Mhm.
than a conference. So you have lectures in the morning, and at the night you have a study case. You have to work and find a solution for it.
Mhm.
And this developed my research skills so far that you have to build a whole prototype in a 3 or 4 days. And you have to work from people from different culture and different backgrounds. I'm an engineer. I'm working with a biologist. I'm working with a chemical engineer. We all working to build a prototype that we can develop it to the court, to the judge. And the judges are not like easy people. Like one of them is a Nobel Prize award. He already have a Nobel Prize in physics. The other is
Mhm.
a Stanford University lecturer. So we have a very brilliant people that you want to present their ideas. And when you get a credibility and you get accepting from these people, it's huge. When it comes, it's totally different from the one that I attended in Denmark. The one in Denmark, it was about free education. It was about peace building, and we were gathering together to build something which is called Winter Concert, which is the concert that representing peace and talent management, and they represent cultures in different ways. So we have some Italian performance, gypsy Italian performance, have some classic performance, we have some. I participated in one of the performance, and it was an amazing experience to work in people from different cultures. The idea of working with people from different culture, different than you, and you have to adapt, and they also have to adapt to you. It's just beautiful that you think that in the future things are going to be better. This world can be a better place with these people representing it.
Mhm. Right.
It also have an
This
impact about how I present Egypt. Sorry.
mhm. Talking about empowering youth, what do you think is the role of the different states or countries towards youth to empower them? I mean, what can be done to empower youth?
Well, what can be done to empower youth? The main thing is accessibility of education. I think this is a very important topic. And I can see some nations are focusing on their youth more than others. Lately I haven't been in Egypt for so long, but I can see the improvement that's happening in Egypt is actually beautiful. Like for example, the accessibility to knowledge when it comes to the Egyptian Knowledge Bank.
Yeah.
When I like as a student in the Debrecen University, if I want to look at a paper in one of the journals, I have to pay like an average of 20 euros to 50 euros, something like that. You can just get it for free by your national ID.
Yeah.
Accessibility is important.
Mhm.
Participating into the public function or the public government or the public policies and stuff, this is very important as well. This is kind of empowering. Empowering is for me is to give me accessibility to the resources, to listen to my
Mhm.
opinions, and to help me to apply my ideas. And all the nations now are trying to work towards this, especially that the European nations, they don't have that much of the youth power. European nations have elderly people are the majority of the community, so they
Mhm.
need to have more and more youth. In other countries like Egypt, we have a huge, the majority of our population are youth or people who are in the age of working. And
Mhm.
by using the most out of these, you can make a huge development in the country or in the nation itself.
Mhm. Do you think that youth around the world have the same common challenges? They have the same dreams, they face the same challenges?
To a point, I can say yes. Of course, it's different from one person to the other. The place you're born is identify a lot of things about you. Identify your own culture, your own background, your own ethnicity, and your own religion as well at some point. And
Mhm.
with these things, you have their own reflection in your problem in your life.
Mhm.
But in the bigger picture, yes, we are all sharing the same thing. We're all looking for the same thing. We're looking for a better world, not only for us, but for the generation that comes after us. And our generation, especially, they have to face the big deal. They have to face the big problems. They have to face the pollution. You have to face the global warming. You have to face the lack of accessibility to sources and smart cities. However, at the same time, we have also ability for kind of technologies that other generations didn't have accessibility to. So the main thing
Mhm.
now is how to apply these kind of technologies or innovations to solve these problems. And
Mhm.
based on my background experience, yes, we are sharing same problems. We are all thinking about similar things in general, without looking so deep into their personal problems and their personal nation problems. Like some other nations have different problems than others, you know what I mean? But in the
Mhm.
general picture, yes, we are small. We are very similar to each other.
Right. Well, finally, Mustafa, tell me more about the role of youth towards their communities, towards their countries, in your opinion. Finally, this is going to be my last question.
Okay, this is a very huge question. And when I think about it myself a lot, that I got a lot of support from my country. And these people getting a lot of support to their country. And I feel like I have this feeling I'm not obligated to serve my country. No, I want to serve my country. I don't feel
Mhm.
it's kind of obligation on me. Like I have the opportunity to stay here if I want. I can go to other countries. But I'm thinking about it like I really want to help these people. I really want to like I was kind of lucky, I would say that, or it's just from God supported me or helped me or gifted me to know about these kind of uh, sources, to know about this kind of opportunities. But a lot of people doesn't know. A lot of people have better skills than me. I'm sure about that. It's full of smart people, and these people need someone to tell them what to do. And I think this is my part. Other people's parts is different. Some people's parts are about helping establishing better communications between people. Like everyone have his own role that he can play in his community because it is as it says, it's my community. They are my people, and whatever I'm gonna do for them, it's gonna only affect me, but it's gonna affect my family, my families after my family, and the people that are after and after and after.
Mhm.
So I think it's very important for everyone to understand his own task and his own priorities and what he can give to the people who gave him before.
Mhm. Right. Well, I would like to thank you very much for joining us here on Nile TV International. Mustafa Gadil Maula, studying abroad, studying mechatronics in Hungary at Debrecen University. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing your experience with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm very honored by that.
It's our pleasure, Mustafa. Well, dear viewers, that was Mustafa Gadel Maula studying mechatronics at Debrecen University in Hungary. He shared his experience with us, another success story in our program. Stay tuned. Next week, we'll be back with a new success story. Thank you for joining us.